Welcome to the Mystical Mountain Podcast. I'm your host, Chad, and I'm here with Flat Earth Dave, David Weiss, probably one of the more well-known people within that world, within that community right now at the moment. Um, and, this is a trigger warning to anybody listening. I haven't done a Flat Earth podcast yet, but I know how that gets the juices flowing in people.
Amazing.
And before we get into some of that, I was just maybe gonna let you, Dave, first of all, thank you for being here, but let you maybe just give a brief introduction on yourself.
Hi, my name's Dave, and I'm a flat earther. And that's kind of how we feel like we're in like an AA class. But the truth is, everybody has the same story. They heard about flat Earth. They ridiculed the person that told them about it. They refused to look. They mocked it. Then, when they finally looked, they went in not with an open mind, but with a closed mind to disprove it and prove the globe. And that's how you become a flat earther. I have that story. Everyone has that story. So, for those of you ready to tune out, I'm offering 3 Bitcoins for just one proof that we live on a globe. If we live on a physical globe, like they tell us, there should be 1 million proofs. One wins you 3 Bitcoins. That's over 100 grand today.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, like, for some reason, unlike any other conspiracy theories, I feel like, I mean, not that it is well, I guess you could say there is a conspiracy if what you say is true and everything, but the flat Earth subject seems to get people angry. Maybe not everybody, but it gets people really going more than anything else, more than 9/11 or JFK or the globalist stuff and whatever. Like it gets people going sometimes, oftentimes more than politics or religion. Why do you think it has such an effect to rattle people so badly?
So we live in a world where spells are cast on us constantly, and it's all social programming. It's everything, from the stuff we see on TV, and it just everything is coming at us. It's programming us. It's social engineering, and this is the biggest secret of all because this is the one that breaks the matrix. I woke up. I had a thing called the big three. I was waking people up to the thing that happened in New York. Right, I'm going to put this on YouTube, so I'm being careful. The thing that happened at the school in Connecticut that sounds like a beach, and the thing that happened at the Boston Marathon. And I was like, wow, these are when you look at these things, it's obvious, that they're not what we were told. And I was waking people up to that, and it was doing pretty well. And then Flat Earth came in. And, after I went through the whole stages of denial, refusal, and depression, I came out the other side like, holy crap, the earth is flat. And I realized this is the one that pulls people from the matrix. You can wake people up to 9/11. They go right back to sleep. They're like, well, it's different people and there's different corrupt, politicians and whatever. And everyone has an excuse for everything. But when you wake up to the fact that we're not on a scientifically impossible water ball, rock, water, air ball in a space vacuum. When you actually look at the science, right? I'm not, flat earthers aren't science deniers. We're science hold the feet to the fire people. People, the like Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson, the spokesman for the scientific cult, they identify as science. They identify as science. Literally, they're Leah Thompson. All right. So they're not using science. They're using the word, means nothing. But when you see this deception and when you understand why the lie, because that's the one, any smart person is going to say, well, seasons, boats over the horizon, sunsets, all the things that you thought prove the globe. When I show you that they actually prove the opposite, they actually don't prove the globe, you throw your hands up and say, why the lie? And that's the best question of all. And when you get there, the why the lie is the most interesting.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you've answered this before, but I feel like it has to be asked. People always say, what does it matter if it's flat or not? Now, I know there's probably spiritual implications and more worldly implications as well. How would you answer that best?
So first off, the world is not flat. Look behind you. Okay, that is a lumpy topographical plane at best. Flat is a description of horizontal level. Yeah.
Mhm.
Large bodies of water at rest. The science of water tells us where horizontal is and what level is. Anything bigger than a cup of water, when at rest, will lie flat. Oceans lie flat. The ponds, everything, and they want you to think that the Earth is so big that you can't see the curvature, but then they want you to tell you that you can see a boat go over the curvature. They don't use their own math. Their own math says that a 6 foot tall person can only see 3 miles because the Earth drops 6 feet in 3 miles. So you would see a physical horizon, but we all know that we can see farther than that. Right there. That doesn't say the Earth is flat. It says that it's a bigger ball or it's flat. And when you get into, the stuff that we can measure and actually prove, it's flat. It's level, it's horizontal. So why the lie? Was that the question? Why the lie? I was trying to back end into it.
Well, I guess not only why the lie, but why
What difference does it
people often will say, why does it matter if
make?
it's a horizontal plane or a round ball or whatever, right?
So this is everybody, as I said, we're programmed with spells, and here's a spell. What difference does it make? I still have to go to work on Monday. Everybody has that exact line in their head. What difference does it make? I still have to go to work on Monday. I said it, but here's the thing. I actually, I went to college, went into corporate America, left corporate America, started my own super successful company. I'm the CEO of my own company. I had the American dream. I work for myself, making tons of money. And I walked away from it all to talk to people like you about this topic. And somehow, God willing, God's favor, God's got my back. I'm able to support myself and wake people up at the same time. I have literally the greatest job on earth now. So I don't have to go to work on Monday, but actually I work 7 days a week now. But I love what I'm doing because before, when I would get off work, I would do what I'm doing now for my leisure. Now my leisure has become my work. So love what you do. You never work a day in your life. So if you told me in 2014 that I'm going to be talking to people about flat earth and God, I would say, you have no idea who I am and you're insane. And here I am. My entire life has changed. And, and the letters I get from people, the messages, the videos, everything on how flat earth has changed their life, how they thought it was stupid, how they used to troll me. And now that they look, they're like, oh my God, everything changes. So in a nutshell, the way this world works is they have us in a fake world. They have us using fake money. We're on a fake map. And in their fake corporate world, we are just a commodity. We have our social security. We have our birth certificate. They literally register us. They put us on the stock market and our number is traded as a commodity. And we have to follow their rules when we live in their world. Those who created it own it. If you created something, it's yours. So they created this fake system and we all bought into it from birth. Our parents brought us into it. We learned all the crap and we obey their stupid rules. But when you live on the other side of that, when you wake up to the true creation of this world, God's world, nature, they can't control you. They can't control people that know where they live, know who they are, know the true power that they have, know what free will is. They cannot control us, and they know it. So they have to get us to agree to everything. You know what's amazing? And I'll throw it back to you, is another thing people say, well, what difference does it make? Because I'm only one person. There's nothing I can, when they finally accepted, like, well, there's nothing I can do anyway. I still have to go to work on Monday. And the truth is, one person awake is more powerful than countless millions asleep. And when you don't know, where's it going with that? I had a good finishing point. I had a great point. I lost it. When you don't know where you're going, it'll come back to me in a second. Sorry about that.
When you don't know where you're from, you don't know where you're going.
Yeah, well,
maybe I don't know.
When it was literally I was going in two different directions, but
well, that's okay. I'm sure it'll come back.
The bottom line is, if you're I got it. So when people say I'm only one person, I can't make a difference, there's nothing I can do, they're way too powerful. That's a belief. They have you believing in their power. The governments have no power. What if this podcast goes viral. All the people in the world see it. It goes viral. Everyone sees it. And they go, you know what? They're right. Screw the government. And everyone just starts ignoring the government. How much power does the government have? Zero. They've got nothing. They've got absolutely zero power except the power that we give them. Their money has zero value except the value that we give it. So when you step away from their system, and you also realize they have to tell us, there's rules here. Whether you believe it or not, there's rules here that they abide by. And those rules are they can't break our free will. They have to tell us what they're doing. It's called revelation of the method. They always tell us what they're doing. And then by their maritime contract law, if you don't say no, you're saying yes. That's how things work. So when they say, hey, we're going to do 9/11, we're going to crash planes into here, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, they told us for months and months and years ahead of time, and nobody said anything, and then they did it. It's the same.
Well, I feel like, yeah, I feel like if it in fact hypothetically is a more of a horizontal plane and not a sphere that we're on, that if they're lying about something so big, then obviously they could be lying about virtually anything. And if it's a horizontal plane, then who even knows what's out there, just resource wise or any other reason, like the potentiality is infinite if you now come to a revelation that that reality is not what you're told it is. And then, of course, it would bring in the question of intelligent design and stuff like that. So I could see why that would be really important.
What if they're hiding? What if they're hiding more land? What if they're hiding free energy technology, which they are? We can prove it. Mm-hmm. So what if you didn't have to pay for electricity for your home, heat for your home, or fuel for your car, and you can have as much of it as you wanted? Green, yeah, right? Energy from the ether. Would that change your life? Absolutely would. I mean, you're working most of your life just half of all the money you make goes to those two things, those three things. Basically,
yeah, that would free people up.
It would free people up. And then if you had unlimited energy and you could do all sorts of things, you'd become more productive. There's so many different things that you can do. So they're hiding technology. And then if you look at, for thousands and thousands of years, we muddled through the mud. And then in the last 150 years, we have computer chips and computers. That's a lie. This is all old technology. It's all been hidden from us. There's a thing called a reset that happens. And
this reset, how often would you say this happens?
I don't know, but I think it's between 140 and 200 years. Whoa.
So this reminds me of somebody. Yeah, this reminds me of the work of somebody else on YouTube I came across. I think his name is Jason. Yeah,
Archaic. So
Archaics.
Well, there's a lot of people that talk about the reset. He says it's absolutely 140 years. Nobody knows that. Nobody knows. And if it's a cycle, you'd have to live through two of those cycles to know it's a cycle. So how does someone know that that his work is interesting, but I'm making no solid claims? I think that's what it was. Now, if you go on my app, this is my app, the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. If you go to the homeschool section, that's not the homeschool. The homeschool section right here. Wait a minute. I'm all over the place here. Here we go. Homeschool section. This guy right here is called The History is Hilarious. His channel is My Lunch Break. Go there, watch him. He shows you all these old buildings, looks up the stories about when they were built and founded, not builded. They were found. And none of them make any sense. They're AI generated. I mean, there's so many AI stories in our media, in our history, that are nonsense. And then this guy here, he'll show you what really was going on in the 17 and 1800s. Way more advanced than we are now. But we're told, we had the Wild West and the gold rushes. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. John Levy right here. Amazing stuff. Crow 777. All sorts of amazing resources. The thing is, we're programmed. They really got us at a short attention span. Oh, that's longer than 5 minutes. I'm not going to watch it. It's amazing how they've done that. And they want you to, people like, well, I read it in a textbook, therefore it's true. That's ridiculous. And well, is my teacher lying? Yeah, your teacher's not lying. Your teacher memorized and regurgitated the best, therefore they get to teach it to you. And they're not teaching; they're teaching. They're training you to memorize and regurgitate and be a good little worker slave.
Yeah. So I can just hear people right now listening in my head saying, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? What about this? I know full well from going down the rabbit hole a bit that when it comes to science and math and all these other things with either proving or disproving flat earth horizontal plane or a globe, that it's endless and endless and endless. So I know your app is great. We'll get to that in a second. But if I were to say to you, Dave, what are the top 3 easiest ways, in your opinion, to prove that we're on a horizontal plane? What would your answer be?
Well, the first one is, if we live on a ball, no matter what size it is, there has to be curvature. So we'll start with curvature. There is none. Large bodies of water at rest lie flat. Still water will freeze when the temperature goes below freezing. So here we have a 8-mile canal or lake, whatever it is. And we had our guy go out on the lake. He set his camera up to 6 inches off the ground. Now, on a globe, 24,901 miles around, like they tell us our globe is, if you have a camera 1 foot off the ground, you can only see 1.2 miles before the Earth would slope behind a physical curve. 1.2 miles, 6 feet tall, 3 miles, because there's 6 feet. You have to wait for it to drop 6 feet because you can see higher. The higher you are, the better of an angle you would have if we lived on a globe, which we don't. So, so here it is. And he set up these lights a foot off the ground. And this one's 8 miles, 7 miles, 6 miles, and 5 miles. Now, I'm underestimating here. It's way more than this, but I gave the globe every benefit of the doubt. I took refraction out. I took, the twice. He said they were a foot off, and I made them even higher, but they're literally a foot off. And he shows in the video 30 feet, 22 feet, 15 feet, and 9 feet. That would be that's a 3-story building. This light should be behind a 3-story building. How are we seeing all of these lights? How are they all magically on the same line? Like they're all refracting up. This one's refracting up 30 feet. This one's refracting up 22 feet, 15 feet, 9 feet. And then the ice here is refracting up 5 feet and 3 feet and 2 feet. And, it's all refracting up to stop at eye level to trick you. Or maybe the Earth is flat.
So is refraction always the excuse or reason people give you that are against your opinion for this?
Yeah, refraction is the big one. If you look at and so I have another.
So are they saying? Sorry, just to be clear, are they saying that refraction is just always happening? It's always happening in every instance like this.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Okay.
And
all right.
But the thing is, if you look at refraction, is the dumbest thing ever because everything has to refract a different amount, and it has to decide to stop at your eye level. Something 100 miles away has to refract up 6,600 feet. Something 10 miles away only has to refract up 66 feet, and everything lines up always at your eye level. Kind of like, why does it refract up so it's up high in the sky? Why does it always stop at eye level like the Earth is flat?
I would not know. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's because the Earth is flat and it's not refracting. So let me show you a thing that takes refraction out that nobody is able to debunk. You can't scream refraction. Sure. So here is good.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You first.
Oh no, I was just going to say for anybody listening on the podcast, come check it out here on YouTube if you want a bit more of a visual. Mystical Mountain or on Dave's channel.
So airplane flies in the air over the plane, not air globe, not air curve, airplane, would have to fly around and upside down and up, but it's worse than that because the Earth is spinning. So if the Earth is spinning, it does this crazy figure 8 loop somehow, which is insane.
Well, people are going to say that it's because it's inside of the atmosphere, so it's just following the atmosphere.
Yeah, of course. So right here, the equator, the Earth is going one circle in 24 hours, and it's just over just 25,000 miles. So we'll say it's just over 1,000 miles an hour. So the airplane, when it's right there, when the airplane's right there, it's going 1,000 miles an hour sideways. Right there, it's going 1,000 miles an hour sideways. Now up here, this little point is making a circle in 24 hours, but it's only going like 500 miles an hour. And farther up, it's going less. And at the equator, at the poles, it's not moving at all. Right? So how does the plane speed up and slow down for all of those speeds? And if a plane turned around and went against the spin and turned this way, how does it remember which momentum it had in what direction? Right?
That's an interesting question.
If a plane takes off on the equator, it's got a sideways momentum of 1,000 miles an hour. If it flew to Alaska, it's got to land on a runway that's only moving 200 miles an hour. How is it going to slow down? Were you going to feel it? Our minds, we're not taught to think this way. They never taught us to think about this. So a lot of people just short circuit when they're looking at this stuff, and they're like, no, that doesn't make any sense. So here is what it would look like if you're flying over even just a stationary Earth. And if we look at the stars, as you're diving over, those stars are going up to the right. You with me?
Yep.
So not up to the right. They're going up. So as you dive over, this star will be over your head when you get halfway down, the globe. So when you're flying down the globe, that's what happens. So here's a flight from Berlin to Brazil, I think. So it's going over 4,000 miles down around the ball. And we're watching the stars, and they're not rising up. They're not rising up.
Who took this video?
A pilot did. Yeah, we have other video too. So this is what Google Earth says it would look like. So you put the same route in on Google Earth. Google Earth says this is what we would see. The stars would rise up because you're diving over. You're diving over. And so observable reality and what we understand should happen match, but what they tell us is happening it doesn't match at all. Doesn't match at all.
I'd like to know how the pilot caught the Milky Way there from the inside of a plane with the.
It's up nice and high. It's nice and dark. He's got a GoPro stuck up against the window, and he's catching it. And this.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say. I mean, that's another one I find kind of interesting when I was thinking about stuff is that the stars, the position of the stars in the sky never change from year to year. Yet aren't we told that the entire, like the Earth and the sun and the solar system are all speeding through space at incredible speeds? So why wouldn't we start to see stars in different positions and different stars as time goes on? Why is it always the same ones?
100%. And so you have to remember in the heliocentric model, that we are orbiting we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Okay. We're orbiting the sun at 66,600 miles an hour, a very funny number. And then we're chasing the sun at over 500,000 miles per hour. So we're doing this.
Yeah.
And then they also tell us in our galaxy, 100 billion stars, that 80% of them are binary, which means they're orbiting around each other. They're stars that are doing this figure eight around each other while traveling in the galaxy, while, traveling in every possible direction, and never do the stars ever cross each other, right? So this is what they have us believe is what space travel would be like. So this is an animation, right? This is from Star Trek, whatever. But you see how the stars cross each other's paths due to parallax. As you move, things change their position. Never once in all of history has any two stars crossed each other's paths. Whether we're in June on one side of the sun, 93 million miles away, and then 186 million miles in December on the other side, and no stars change. Plus, we're moving 4.4 billion miles a year. Plus, all the other stars are moving in all their different directions. And their answer is, well, they're so far away that there's no parallax. After
That
thousands and thousands of years, nothing ever changes.
really, at the incredible speed we're going at, there's no change at all. It's very hard to believe, of course, when you hear that.
Well, it has to be true because there is no change. Therefore, it is true. That's their science. Their science is absolute stupidity, absolute insanity.
You know,
Um,
I heard your interview that had a lot of views there with so-called Professor Dave,
yeah,
and it was like I was looking forward to listening to it for the heck of it, and it was really hard to listen to because he's such an
such
ignorant,
ass.
rude individual that like I actually wanted to listen to him what he had to say, and you guys go back and forth, and I could barely stomach it because he comes off as such a prick. I couldn't even do it. And I heard some people say, "Oh, Professor Dave destroyed Dave," and then the other way around and whatnot. And when I was listening to it, I was like, I didn't really see many instances where he so-called destroyed you when I was listening closely. It was just a lot of like just insults.
It basically he didn't they misconstrued everything I said and didn't let me say anything. And I agreed to do that because it was supposed to be a structured debate where we get to talk to each other. And he just acted like a child. But the beautiful thing
Yeah.
about that was a lot of people that will never look at flat Earth. They actually emailed me. They're like, "Listen, I'm not a flat earther. Flat Earthers are stupid. But why did Professor Dave act like that?" Like, first, he's not a professor. He's a failed musician that calls himself a professor. And here, watch this. And then I'll send them some videos. And then a couple of days later, I get an email back going, "Holy crap, this is real." I had no idea. So it helped wake up a whole segment of people. So it was good. But here on my app, on the web button page, there's debunking the debunkers. If we click that, um, and we scroll down right here, Flat Earth Dave humiliates Professor Dave. Okay. There's a channel called Mind Shock, which doesn't take globe or flat earth side. I'm pretty sure he's flat earther at this point. He is a professor of logic and reasoning and debates. So he analyzes debates and he goes through and he has a little score counter, how many ad homs you make and how many fallacies you use. And Dave broke the record of the number of ad homs and fallacies. It's actually fun to listen to. And then you can watch the whole debate and understand, a lot of people, what I say, are very weak minded. They're very
Yeah, I call them easily rattled.
yeah, easily. And so, whoops, I'll do that. So there are people that his name is Professor and he talks with such sarcasm, I have to believe him. Yeah, belief is the enemy of knowing. Let me ask you a question. Where do I live? I told you I was going to test you, remember?
Connecticut.
Yeah. Do you believe it or do you know it?
I believe you that it's probably true, but I don't know it for fact.
There you go. That's exactly it. So we have to live our life in a way where you have to believe stuff that you hear because you don't have time to verify everything. So we use our senses, our God-given senses. You're looking at me. You're like, why would he lie about that? You're reasoning 5,000 different factors. Like, why would he lie? I've heard him say it before. And then you've stored it as true information, but you are aware that it's just a belief, right? People believe they live on a ball. They'll fight to the death, but they can't come up with one reason. What's up with that? That sounds like a cult.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that no matter what side you're on, the best way to approach this, if you actually want to approach this subject, is to just be nice and calm and just read both sides of the argument and analyze things without getting, all angry and sensitive and everything like that. But I have to quickly ask you something. Somebody that I know, I told them I was going on with you and they don't believe in flat earth. And I said, well, you know what, I'll let you ask a question or something if you want to Dave. And they wanted me to ask you, why why was flat Earth not considered as fact between the years 1492 and 2014, with flat Earth talk suddenly appearing on Reddit in 2014, which magically caught on and went for a thought experiment meme for a new religion? So I think he kind of believes that maybe CIA or somebody is behind the flat Earth movement in recent times. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, that is, he believes that story. He believes that Eratosthenes proved it 2,000 years ago. And the truth is, they were teaching flat Earth all the way up to the 1950s. They were, let me say it again, they were teaching flat Earth all the way up to the 1950s.
And would that have been just in like fundamental Christian schools, or what do you mean exactly?
No, everywhere. So you look at every old culture, they're all talking flat Earth, except NASA. They're the only religion that isn't talking flat Earth. And
Mhm.
and I interviewed a woman named Ruth, 102 years old, back in 2020, and about the World's Fairs, nothing to do with flat Earth. And her memory was so good; she was so sharp. And I asked her, I said, "What did they teach you in school?" She went to school in Connecticut, public school in Hamden, and she said, they taught me the earth was flat. That was in the 1920s. Then we found people that said they were teaching flat earth and globe earth all the way up into the 1950s. The Gleason's map was in every textbook, every school book. It's still what all autopilots use. Why are they using the map if it's not right? And it wasn't until 2014 that it started getting popular online again, and that's when YouTube was really pushing. Like, you watch a flat earth video, like, oh, you like that? Watch this, and it was really good stuff. It was really easy. It was really easy to learn stuff. But now it's impossible. It's almost impossible. That's why I created the app. The app bypasses their algorithm. But right now, here's something that you can do. So let's say you used to be interested in underwater basket weaving, and you want to find that video that you watched a year ago or 6 months ago or 2 days ago. I just go to YouTube history and search underwater basket weaving. It'll show right up. And if you were searching for Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, COVID, whatever, 9/11, anything you watch that's still on YouTube will show up in your history if you watched it. Now you can go to my channel, DITRH, stands for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, or Jeranism, or Globebusters, or Taboo Conspiracy, any of the real channels. You can watch a whole bunch of flat Earth videos today, yesterday, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, whatever. Then go to your history and search flat Earth. They all disappear. And only propaganda videos will show up.
I've noticed that for a multitude of subjects, and I noticed how hard it was to come across some of your videos and YouTube channel on YouTube. I even went to Rumble. I'm like, man, this is getting annoying.
And they had congressional hearings about false information online, and how they're going to stop. And the example they used was flat Earth. The example they used was flat Earth. You Google my name, flat Earth, you're going to get just propaganda videos. But if you go to flatearthdave.com and watch the crash course there, or get my app and watch the daily video or the archive videos or the frequently asked questions or more resources, then you will know. But not until you go look. And I don't even say with an open mind, but actually just go look. You'll never know. They've really programmed us, back to the original question, to think it's so dumb that we refuse to look. I refused to look for the longest time. It was crazy. I was banning people from our social media for even suggesting that I look.
Oh man, you were going that hard, hey? On the other side.
Ban for life, I came up with. Ban for life. You're banned for life because you're too stupid. Yes, we're looking into this fake shooting and that fake bombing and this fake thing and that fake thing. Yes, we're understanding that there's a lot of conspiracies, but flat Earth is a step too far, right? But once you understand that all observable reality shows a stationary, level, horizontal, non-moving plane, and once you understand there is zero proof of the globe, you think there's tons? Let's hear it. I still have my 3 Bitcoins.
And I think another thing we should probably definitely cover that always comes up is that people are going to say, well, where's the edge? Well, obviously, flat earthers believe that we're in the Antarctic basin, I guess, is what I hear often. So the Antarctica is the kind of, on average, the highest plateau on Earth, or whatever you want to call it, and it surrounds everything, right?
Right. Well, large bodies of water need containment. If you have a bathtub and you remove the side of the tub, there's no more water. If you remove the side of a lake, the water is going to go somewhere else. If you remove the side of the ocean, where's the water going to go? It's going to go somewhere else. Well, the side of our ocean, the shoreline of our ocean is Antarctica. Antarctica has the highest average height of all continents. So it is the container of our world. The question is, what's beyond Antarctica? We don't know. We want the right to go explore. They tell us Antarctica, is a continent at the bottom of a ball about 10 to 13,000 miles around. They have all these mountains in the interior that are called Dome A, Dome B. Weird that they're calling them domes, but you can make up excuses on why they would do that. And the truth is that the shoreline of our world is Antarctica. Here are the bases that we have on Antarctica. It doesn't prove Antarctica is a real place. What is out here in the outer space? We don't know. Now, some people say that's it. Flat earthers, there's a dome. There's nothing out there. God's created the earth. I kind of think there's more land out there. I think the earth is much bigger. God's created earth is much bigger than they're telling us. And
yeah. So, sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought, please.
No, the thing is, the Antarctica and the North Pole are the two places that would prove that we're not on a ball. And they're the only two places that you're not allowed to go physically or virtually. So I just measured South America. It works perfectly, but I try to measure Antarctica. Watch what happens.
That's like a weird crescent shape on Google Earth.
It's kind of like it's measuring like around the outside. It can't figure it out. And the same thing happens in the north when we try to measure
that would be
the North Pole. It makes it weird. What's going on there? So that's strike 742, I think. So, you can measure anywhere on Google Earth except those 2 points. What's up with that? Sounds like they converted a flat map and wrapped it around a ball, and their software can't figure out how to correct that.
Yeah, that's a little weird. It's kind of surprising it would do that. I wanted to ask you about something I saw you mention in another podcast about volcanoes, and I was a little bit confused about. You mentioned that you thought that there wasn't lava that would spew out of the top of volcanoes. But I mean, I did a search and I saw some coming out of the top of Mount Etna in Italy, where I actually recently visited. But I was wondering if you could clarify on that.
So the whole volcanoes. So people believe that volcanoes are coming from lava from the center of the earth and coming up through a crack and spewing out the top of a mountain. Cracks, and it builds higher and higher and higher. That's not the case. There's lava tubes that are created all over the earth from the electrical energy flowing through the earth, and it creates these lava tubes. And go look at Maui. That's what's going on in Maui. They're popping up through the surface all the time. And most of the time, when you're watching news, they'll show you like a close up of a lava tube. That lava keeps coming out, and it makes a hill, maybe 15, 20, 30 feet high, and then they make it look like a mountain. So people say, well, what about Mount St. Helens? There was no lava in Mount St. Helens. It just exploded. That, I think, was a test of a directed energy weapon of some sort. But are there mountains where lava is coming out of the top? I haven't seen it. Are there lava tubes in some mountains? Probably. But I haven't seen lava spewing from a top of a mountain and rolling down, from a high mountain. Haven't seen it. Now, there's the volcanoes in Maui. I just believe that there's lava tubes there. There's not lava. The mountains aren't created by lava just coming down and building the mountain bigger and bigger. Doesn't happen. This is just showing you how
they say volcanoes are created by it, not all mountains, obviously.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying volcanoes. So volcanoes are not
okay.
I don't believe they're created like that. I believe they're just where there is electrical energy and it comes out and creates, your lava crater. And there's a lot of crazy stuff. I don't know enough about it. There's a guy on, I think his name is Joey Rocha in Hawaii, who's done a lot of investigation. He knows a lot more about it than me. But I'm just showing here that electricity does melt rocks and create lava. So, when we look at this world, it is a massive electrical magnetic system we live on. We live in the dielectric plane of this toroidal field, and that's the only place that we can live.
Mm-hmm. And I know too that a lot of people who believe in the Earth being flat, a horizontal plane, they don't believe in outer space or anything being out there. Um, I myself, I feel like, even if there was a dome structure of some sort or something kind of encapsulating us here in this flat plane, if it is that, that wouldn't necessarily negate the possibility of there being more space or something outside of that, and maybe even beings or other, humanoids or whatever living creatures out there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't believe that outer space exists as they tell us. I believe that it actually turns to water up there. We're living in between the waters above and the waters below. These are close-ups of stars. They kind of look like they're in water when you look at them. Here is the star Sirius, and when you zoom in on it, it's a pulsing orb of energy. And I don't believe that these stars are in outer space. They're fixed within the firmament. And I think they're sentient. They're sentient in a way. Um, Here's another view of Sirius. That is not a burning ball of gas in a vacuum, which is scientifically impossible at distances that make absolutely no sense because the angular size and the brightness would be impossible to see at the fraction of the distances that they tell us. So, as far as extraterrestrials, I believe, and again, to we don't need to speculate what's beyond the shoreline of Antarctica to prove the Earth is flat, but we can talk about it because there's lots of evidence. So if we look here, so this is interesting. So this is a map. This green area is where we live. And this is where our North Pole is. And our North Pole migrates around this circle every 26,000 years. And our sun circles the North Pole. So in 13,000 years, our North Pole would be over here. And this is where our pond would be. And the shoreline of our pond, they'd call Antarctica. So these are the known lands of our world right now. But as time goes on, it's going to migrate over. This is a possibility. Another thing is, this is actually the map of the moon, and it correlates to the map of the Earth. That's a whole nother rabbit hole, which I don't really go down very much. It is yeah. It is incredible, right? So, let me just show you a couple other things. So,
sure.
What if we lived here? Here's America and Africa, Australia, South America. Here's our sun. It circles around. This is what we call Antarctica. And what is out here? What is out here in these outer rings? Go watch Lord of the Rings again, right? Does this have their own sun out there? Right? So
right, yeah, it's who knows what it could be.
Yeah. We don't know what's out there. We don't know, and they're not gonna tell us. So this is the Gleason's map I was referring to earlier, and they say the Gleason's map is just a projection of the globe on a map. Actually, the other opposite is true. They took the Gleason's map, wrapped it around a golden globe, and told us this is where we live, and we're not allowed to explore this white area. It's just a continent at the bottom, right? Nobody ever crosses over this continent, right? They'll go from here to here. Oh, I'm in Antarctica, and then they go back, and they'll go from here to here. Oh, I'm in Antarctica, but no one ever goes from here to here. No one ever does it.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. I was wondering if Admiral Byrd or somebody had done that.
Admiral Byrd did Project High Jump, and he went out, but he said leaving from I thought he said Middle America, but it's from Little America. So let's say Little America was their base right here. He says crossing the South Pole, there's more land bigger than the United States that no human has ever set foot upon, filled with resources. Well, that would be over here, don't you think? People in Australia,
some people
Africa would see it.
Some people may say, well, Antarctica is the same size or bigger actually than the United States, and that's what he meant by that.
Well, no, he said there's more land beyond the pole. Beyond the pole. Beyond the pole is out here. So yeah, so maybe that land just extends. If we look at it, if we go back, more land beyond the pole. Where is it? Lost it. There it goes. So more land. Whoops. Go back. So more. Why is it not pausing? There we go. So more land beyond the pole is just out here. Maybe this just extends out much farther. It might just
Mm-hmm.
be all one land. It might be another pond. Again,
Yeah.
we don't know. We
And for
don't.
those who don't know, Admiral Byrd was a famous explorer back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s for the United States, kind of the top dog in the Navy back then, and said some rather cryptic remarks about things that have been analyzed since then.
Yeah, and then he said, "There's more land." And then 6 months later, he died in his sleep. Kind of weird, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I've always wondered, like, it'd be really interesting to get his son in an interview or something. I believe he's still alive, and
Oh,
ask
is
him
he?
about these supposed things that his father said, and that supposed diary he has that straight up says he went, I think that was the North Pole that time, or maybe it was the South. I think that was the North Pole. He wrote in that diary where he got brought down by those taller beings and stuff like that. Of course, I believe that those journals came out of some sort of magazine originally in the 60s that claimed to be his journals, but it'd be interesting to see what his son or children would have to say about that.
Yeah. So this is Admiral Byrd on TV talking about that stuff. And what's behind him? A giant flat Earth map with a clock. The sky is the perfect clock. It's more accurate than any Swiss watch or any watch
Oh
because
yeah.
the sky is the clock. That is what everything is set to. If we lived in a gravitational heliocentric beehive, nothing would ever repeat. It would just be a big total mess. Science, the ones that identify as science, they say if at the Big Bang, the speed that everything exploded was a fraction of a millisecond faster or slower, the entire universe would have expanded or collapsed. It just happened at this perfect thing to create this world. An explosion created your eyeball. Okay, it's ridiculous. It's so stupid when you look at it. It's mind blowing. It's so stupid. I say that a lot, but it's absolutely the truth. What if the world is
Well,
set up like this? Extra land, extra territory. You want to believe in outer space? Here's the outer space. Here's the extra terra. It's just
hmm.
thousands of miles away instead of light years away. Light years are dumb. Light years make no sense. The closest star is 25 trillion miles away. If you and I could go in a spaceship that goes 100,000 miles an hour, it would take us 28,000 years to get to the closest star.
Yeah, so I find it hard to believe that we can supposedly see their light, and that the light we're seeing is from a long time ago when, the sun is the size of like a nickel when you're looking at it in the sky, and it's relatively much closer apparently.
Yeah, and as light spreads out, it gets dimmer. Go in a dark room, hold a flashlight, an inch from the wall, and then start walking away and watch how the wall gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. And when you're 20 yards away, the wall's not even going to have any light on it. It's going to be so dim. And that's what happens as light spreads out. So to believe that a pinpoint of light is just going forever and not spreading out like light does, it's weird. Light spreads out everywhere. Air gases fill the available space everywhere except in outer space. Because in outer space, light remains as bright in all directions. So you have infinite brightness because, as it is expanding out in all directions, it has to remain its intensity. No, it's getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And you're not going to be able to see it. And gases fill the available space, but in space, they collapse upon each other and create burning balls of fire. Our sun, they say, uses, and I forget the number, it expends like 60 or 600 billion tons a day or an hour of fuel. It's burning it that. So for billions of years, it's burning that much and it never loses any of its gravity. Does that make any sense?
I would not know about
It, it
that.
well, it makes so you have a sun. It's when our sun happened, all the gases in the space collapsed, created a vacuum. Nature abhors a
Yeah.
vacuum. Created our sun. It turns into a nuclear furnace. With whatever you want to say, and it's burning in incomprehensible amounts of fuel every single day for billions of years, but it's not shrinking. It's not shrinking, and its mass is still holding on to all of the planets perfectly. But
Mhm.
it's even though it's getting smaller and smaller because it's burning its fuel, it's the reason you can't figure it out is because it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. And a lot of people go like, well, that's beyond my ability to understand. Well, it probably is because nobody can understand
um, if NASA or Elon Musk said, "Hey, Dave, you know what? You're a prominent flat earther or whatever. Why don't you hop aboard? We'll take you up here, next week or something like that." Are you gonna go, or are you worried that they're gonna have an accident and it
it.
might blow up?
So if who's the guy that makes South Park? Um
Oh, I
if
forget the
if
name.
he said, "Hey Chad, would you like to come and be in the cartoon? Would you like to be in the cartoon? Would you like to go to South Park, in the cartoon? Would you do it?"
Yeah, sure, I'll do it.
How are you going to do that? It's fake.
I don't know, but I'll say yes.
Yeah, you'll say, yeah, of
Yeah.
course, of course. So let's look at a couple. Let's look at a couple rockets. Let's look at
So you're saying that they would just never ask you because
well, they
it's
might
fake.
ask you. There's people that supposedly going to be flying around the moon and stuff. That they're either going to trick them or it's all just a bunch of nonsense. But if you look
They
at
got some CGI on the windows or something.
maybe, I mean, who knows what they're going to do, what they're going to do next. But
Well, I'm calling out NASA and Elon Musk right now. They need to get Flat Earth Dave on
yeah.
a spacecraft
So
so he can go see what's up there
here's Elon
if
Musk
it's around.
testing his rocket that's going to go to Mars. All right, look at the little stupid launch pad it's on, and look at the edits. Okay, edit, edit, edit. Now look, this little flame is lifting up this multi-ton rocket. Okay, edit,
It
edit.
looks like crappy CGI.
This is horrible. All right, and so now watch. This camera on the ground can't be that it can't be that high. Well, now it looks high. Now it doesn't look high because it sees the side and the bottom. I mean, it's not that far away. Now it's really high. Weird. And now it's already turned off and it's going to free fall. Now this is multi tons. Look at the speed that the smoke is coming off. Now watch, edit, and now look at the speed. Is this free falling? Is this a train engine? Falling. Oh, look how high it is.
No,
This is in order. This is in sequence. Now this thing is
really.
free falling. Free falling. Okay. Now look how high it is. Look it up there. You can almost see the curve of the earth. And so now three engines are gonna turn on. The cameraman's gonna do an edit, get right underneath it. Ready? Edit. And two of the engines are gonna turn off. Watch, two of them are gonna burn out because their little firework isn't working. And this one off center engine is going to land this thing upside down with a bunch of CGI smoke. Here comes the CGI smoke right there. And it's going to land upright and it looks like a big penis. All right. Are they,
This is jokes. No,
this,
I got to ask you:
this
is
was
that Dave? Is that the actual footage that they
yes,
purport is real? Did they put that out?
100%. This is
Really?
their live footage of that.
It looks like I'm looking at PS3.
Yeah, it actually you would want your money back if that's what you got. So this is what they show, but the launch before this, when it landed, it exploded, it fell over, and the people like, why would they do that if they're faking it? Why would they make it explode? To make you say that exact sentence.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So anybody that has God-given common sense and is using it knows that this is fake. Okay, let's unwind that. Elon Musk is fake. NASA's fake. All of it's fake. It's all fake. There's so much of this, that it's ridiculous. And when you go into the ISS, it's even worse. I mean, they have so much stuff there, that they're
Dave, if they did invite you up and you got up on a little shuttle or whatever,
yeah.
And you came back down, just saying hypothetically, and you said, you know what, I was wrong. It's round. Everybody that believes in the horizontal plane flat Earth is going to say Dave's life was threatened. So it would probably solve nothing anyways.
Well, that is a good point. And until you see it yourself, you don't know. You don't know until you actually see it yourself. So again, never in the history of NASA has anybody done a 360 with a camera in space. No one's ever spun the camera around. That's statistically
Hmm.
impossible. No one's ever done it.
I've seen a lot of the green screen shenanigans they've played in some of their videos floating around inside the capsules,
Right. Let's look
among
at
other things.
yeah, let's just look at a couple of those real quick. So this is what's this one? So this is them in the pool with a CGI background, and we can see bubbles all over the place. Little bubbles, bubbles of water.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, those are paint flecks and ice. They got some crappy paint up there.
Oh, like ice because it's cold up in
Yeah.
space or
Well,
whatever.
you can't have water in space, except now you can because they found some crazy water galaxy, supposedly.
Okay.
Here is a spacewalk. They put the shoes on the wrong feet. Weird. Okay, let's just say that's an accident. They put their shoes on the
Mm-hmm.
wrong feet. Um,
Okay.
why in space don't they explode? Because there's no pressure. Their suit will explode if there's air in it. Why don't they puff up like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? Right? Like this balloon, the air is trying to escape in all directions. Bring it to this up into space, it'll explode. Right? Why don't they do that? Here is
Good question.
yeah, this is Kamala talking to people on the space station. So she's just an actor in this play. And now this guy's
Mm-hmm.
playing with this wire. He's like, oh, look, it's always something. It's always something. But when we look at what's going on with this wire carefully, his hand, it goes right through his hand. Watch it go right through his wrist.
Oh, look at that. Yeah,
Ready?
there you go. Once again.
Right through his wrist. So
And
again,
hey, whether Earth is flat or not, I don't believe much of what NASA
yeah,
says. So
look at
that's
look at
just
that.
me.
Right through his wrist.
That's pretty telling right there.
Well, right. So if they're faking that, they're faking everything. They're faking everything. And this is what they showed us a bunch of years ago when they were going up to dock. Oh, I forget if this was the Soyuz dock with the space station. And oh, there's a space station out the window, right? That's actually the shuttle dock to it. But watch what happens. Oops. What? How did it get inside the window there?
Yeah, yeah,
This is it would be an insult to say that this is poor CGI or poor special effects.
yeah.
Right? And then you're in space. Look at her. There's a rod going out to the window cover and she's closing it. Like, how do you seal that out? How do you have a perfectly sealed physical rod going out? Is she watching here or is she watching a monitor? She's just matching her motions to the monitor. And if you really analyze it, it's not actually correlated perfectly. But worse than
Hmm.
that, she's in space for months, right? They only get one shirt a week. They only can sponge bath. Look at her hair. Look at her makeup. That's a good hair day. Yeah.
It looks like it's kind of sticking up. Is that because of the lack of gravity
Well,
supposedly
no,
up
it's
there?
because of hairspray. Look how nice her hair is, and look at the amount of makeup she has on. How do you put on makeup in
Mhm.
space and take it off? You only get like one washcloth every couple of days or something, and you're not even allowed to take a shower. Would this be allowed? And they always have someone in space with really long hair. It's so dumb, right? And so all these guys they're doing their press conference, and they're like, "Could you do a flip for us?" And something goes wrong. Something goes wrong. Now, first off, they're in this tube. So this guy is going to go up. Where's he going? How's he going up? They're like in a tube. And so this guy gets caught in his wire. They're freaking out. He's stuck and he can't get down.
Uh,
And so
okay, yeah.
if you hear the sound on this guy's like, oh boy, here we go. And this guy's like getting out of the scene. And then the guy in the red shirt, he's going to go over here and pull a lever. And actually, with sound, you could hear them pull a lever and then the wires reset. But also, you'll watch, and it's going to show it in a second, you're going to see the wire pull on his shirt. So he's looking over,
Okay.
let me go grab that lever. and he does it, click, and you
Oh,
watch the wire, watch
yeah, I saw that.
it, and he just cleared
Yeah,
it. So let's look, watch. He pulls it, click, and it just moves. Click.
yeah, I see.
You
Yeah.
can make excuses all day long, but
Do you ever find it interesting how, NASA came to be this big popular thing in the 50s and 60s, headed by Werner von Braun? I had to ask, did everybody back then, just out of curiosity, know that he was like a Nazi that had come over from Germany, Operation Paperclip, and NASA was kind of headed by a bunch of them and stuff? Or was that not common knowledge until like decades later?
um no, nobody seemed to care. They're like, oh my god, we stole their good scientists, but that's a psyop inside
Okay.
of a psyop. You know about Project Paperclip, where we brought over the Nazi rocket scientists. The problem is there was no rocket scientists. There was just rocket scammers. They're all in it together. There was no space race. There was no Cold War. It's all a put up. So Project Paperclip is just another scam inside of a scam. But the story is, we brought over Werner von Braun. He and Ronald Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, Walt Disney. We all know who Walt Disney is. Werner von Braun, ex-Nazi, Jack Parsons, an occultist, and then Aleister Crowley, probably the most evil person in the world. Those are the founders of NASA.
Now, is this like kind of a claim you're making, or is this fact? I've
No,
never heard of Crowley and Ron Hubbard and Walt Disney being associated with founding NASA.
they're all associated with NASA. They're all the Jack Parsons project. It's all crazy insanity. And the thing is, and Werner von Braun on his gravestone, is it Revelation of the Method? Is it poke in the eye? Is it? I'm not sure. I'm going with Revelation of the Method. He all his gravestone said is the dates and Psalm 19:1. And Psalm 19:1, if you look it up, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Why does the founder of NASA have that on his gravestone?
That is a very interesting fact, as long as that's true, because we know things can be photoshopped. I'd like to see that in person. That's really
That
interesting
is
that
true.
he would have that.
You can go look at that. It
Oh
is.
yeah.
You can go look at, and it's incredible the amount of crap that they put out there. Did you know that Prada is to design the new NASA moon suit?
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
What really? Really? And we have a challenge out there. Mark
Yeah.
Sargent has a challenge out there. He says any astronaut, anyone from NASA and him, give them spacesuits and put them in the vacuum chamber and take the air out of the chamber. And they won't do it. They only tried that once. I believe it was in the 60s. And before they even got all the air out, the astronaut passed out. He said his tongue started to boil and he almost died. They had to repressurize like super fast and they never tried it again. You can't be in a vacuum. There's no possible way to do it. And then another funny thing, Werner von Braun wrote a book in 1957 called Project Mars about a bunch of people that are going to Mars. This is Elon's rocket that he wants to go to Mars. And Elon made a tweet. He goes, I want to redesign it. I want to make it pointier.
Okay.
Right.
So
wait,
he's trying to.
In the book from 1957, it's about a group of people that go to colonize Mars. And the leader of that group, do you want to guess what his name was?
I think I've heard it. I'm gonna guess it's Elon.
It is Elon.
You can't write this stuff. Well, you probably could, I guess, but yeah, it's pretty unbelievable.
Yep. And that Space Force and Starfleet Command, interesting.
Mm-hmm. Did Professor Dave try to collect those 3 Bitcoin or what?
He's just a moron. NASA, the NASA logo is a snake tongue. It's incredible.
I like that one.
Yeah,
that's a good one. I've seen that one before. It's kind of interesting. Fork tongue.
Yep.
Apropos.
Yeah, it goes on, on and on, and this one where they're trying to go in. I call this the bologna door, the tortilla door. Okay, well, how is that going to do anything? What is that? Where's the door? Oh, it's on the inside.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm assuming they'll have a reason or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't have any reasons.
I wanted to ask you too. Well, what's your opinions on simulation theory? Since we're talking about the reality of everything here.
I'm a combination where I think that we live in this dielectric plane where we're in these physical, for lack of a better word, avatars, suits, having a human experience. I think that our souls are eternal. So if we, when we're done with this life here, we leave, return to source, and then we come back, there's a simulation for you. And and if you start looking at stuff like just how reality changes, how your thoughts create reality, how just all the stuff they're hiding from us. Your thoughts create your reality. Look at your life, it's your fault. Okay, no matter what it is, it's your fault. It's because of the way that you think. That to me sounds like it's in some sort of simulation. And so that's just a word. I don't think that it's just the reality that we live in. We live in a physical simulation. That's how I put it.
Yeah, I kind of like the way you put that. A physical simulation, not necessarily that we're a bunch of ones and zeros in a big giant computer.
100%.
And what do you think about the hollow earth theory?
I think that that's the hollow earth theory is another psyop to make you think you live on a ball, just on the inside of a ball. But I think that there are 7 or more layers of reality where we're at this layer here, and below us there could be another world, and above us is a non-physical heavenly world. And so you have all these layers. If you look at Vedic astrology and all that stuff, they talk about the 7 heavens above us. So the deepest hole ever dug was the borehole. It only goes 7.5 miles, and they hit an impenetrable barrier, kind of like another firmament below us. So what's below us? I don't know, man. Here's sometimes when a supply ship comes up, they get some fresh fruit. They got a lemon, and they were playing with it, and it kind of bounced out. Look what happens to this lemon.
Oh yeah.
Watch this person's hand.
Oh yeah, right through it.
Okay. And their explanation is silence, or they'll say something like, "Oh, cosmic rays with the film, it caused a special thing to trick you, to make you think." Look at that. Okay, that
Yeah.
is fakery. One of these things alone proves the rest is just stupid, fake. Here is Don Pettit loves his. They were complaining that they were tired of drinking coffee out of a bag, so he created a cup, and he showed how the coffee sticks to the cup, except the coffee separated from the cup.
Yeah, I see that.
Layering
It-
issue.
Yeah, like these are obvious like fakeries, but I mean there is I will admit there are some videos NASA puts out from like their space station or whatever that seem to apparently show the round Earth, and they look pretty good. But I guess would you say it would be easy enough to make top quality CGI when you got $70 million per day coming to you at
80 million,
times?
80 million per day.
80 million.
80 million per day. So here's the issue. Um, the so this is, let me see. This is when Elon Musk sent his Tesla into space. Amazing. Tesla into space. And this is when it first came out, and then they're showing it flipping around. Let me just zoom forward here. This is where they're showing us a glitch where it's showing it in a studio, but I think that was done on purpose. But
Yeah, I've seen that.
where is that? Hold on. Let's see. Is this it? Oh yeah. So here it is floating, and we could see almost the entire globe Earth. Right? We could
Hmm.
see the entire globe Earth. That makes no sense whatsoever, because from the space station, you can barely see the curve 250 miles up. This was 170 miles up, and we could see the whole Earth.
Oh, so it's
Now
not adding
this,
up. Yeah.
yeah, this was like a million miles away. What's going on here? What's
Because
going on?
America looks so big there. I've heard some people say America looks really big in that picture because it was taken closer to the Earth, and that's just how things work with a sphere.
Yeah, well, that's a bunch of nonsense, because if we look at let me see. Where am I? So they show us all. Oops, I just took myself off. Let me come back. They they these are all pictures from NASA. Which one do you like? This is the Blue Marble 2002 picture or 2012 picture. Uh, they're all absolutely fake, and
They look very different from one another.
yeah, 100%. And this is the 2012 and 2013 picture. Whoops, why am I keep disappearing? Here we go. I'm back.
Hmm.
Um, look how big America is here, and look how small it is here, and look at the vivid colors. So when we send a balloon up
Yeah.
to 120,000 feet, the Earth turns white because the air is just that thick. But somehow,
Hmm.
from a million miles away, it's blue and green. Nonsense.
Well, even one of their own people says they have to Photoshop it, right? To some
Yeah,
degree. So
Photoshop because it has to be. Um, let me show you this one. Where's the world?
sure.
Oh, so this is the 2012 picture, and let's go here. Um, so here is the world map, and if we put it right here, so we can see there's America and a little bit of
Oh
Mexico.
yeah.
All of this land is on the other side of that ball.
Yeah. 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 It doesn't seem believable, of course.
It doesn't seem believable, or it's complete and total fakery.
Yeah.
And then here is the that same picture. And so we can't verify any of this. You can say, well, it's taken from here, it's taken from there, whatever. Um, we can verify. We can drive across Mexico and take a boat and go across Baja, 934 miles. We can actually physically verify that. Cool. NASA tells
Hmm.
us the diameter of the Earth is 7,917 miles. I should be able to fit 8.4 of these segments in between these two lines.
Yeah.
I can't even get 8.4 on this screen.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So, people are like, well, the rest of the land is hiding on the side because, if you get really close to a thing, you miss. No, no, absolutely no. This is the diameter is a straight line through. So we have a true diameter from edge to edge, 7,917 miles. This is straight in front of us, 934 miles. How do you fit them on there? You don't, because it's a painting.
Hmm. Another thing somebody wanted me to ask you was why it is that they made the comparison between I don't know if it was Christians or just religious people, but and flat earthers, and that's that both groups seem to really be adverse to believing in aliens or grays, extraterrestrials, um, and they kind of were insinuating there's some sort of connection there. What do you think about that?
I don't. I think that's a generalization. There's misunderstandings. I separate extraterrestrials as people from the extraterra, probably speak English, you ask me, or maybe some Spanish. Um, that would be an extraterrestrial, and alien people. I think that's referred to as a demon or something non-physical. So it's two separate things. That's how I define
Hmm.
them. So I believe that there are disembodied spirits. I believe that they're in our government. They're running the deep state, and there's I believe that our souls are eternal and that we come and go. And so saying that we don't believe in that, there are some flat earthers that don't believe in extraterrestrials. Okay, that's fine. That's a belief. Show me the evidence. There's people that don't believe in Bigfoot, right? There's people that believe in Bigfoot. I've seen a lot of evidence. I'm on the, there
I
is,
believe in Bigfoot.
yeah, 100%. There's so much evidence, it's ridiculous. But again, they'll use that to poison the well, like, oh, flat earthers think Bigfoot's real. Yeah, guess what? We've done the research. You haven't. The Earth is flat. We've done the research. We've looked. You didn't.
Why do you think there's no, unless I'm wrong, if somebody could show me in the comments, that'd be great. No videos of active satellites floating around.
because there are no active satellites. Now, satellites, that's a whole nother thing. But most satellites are on balloons. Satellites are are launched on balloons. NASA controls all the helium in the world, and they admit they have tens of thousands of satellites hanging from balloons. Why would you spend billions of dollars on putting a satellite into space that somehow magically follows all of the corkscrewing motions of the Earth when you
Mhm.
can just have them controlled on a balloon for, a couple $1,000, $100,000, whatever?
And for those listening, if they don't know what I'm talking about, like it is rather difficult to find any video of satellites floating around. Am I right?
There's zero photos of a satellite in space.
Like without a balloon or whatever.
Right. And these balloons are crashing all over the world. They're crashing, and everybody has a high def camera in their pocket. It's called Crow's Law from Crow 777 Radio. Um, Anything that's interesting that can be filmed in high def will be filmed in high def. And so, where are the satellites in space? Where are the pictures of cruise ships upside down from the space station? Where?
Yeah, yeah, with their incredible zooming in technology with their
Yeah,
cameras. What another thing I got to say that I find interesting regarding flat Earth is that you can take people who are completely anti-establishment. They don't believe the government. They don't believe the mainstream media. They know about the two buildings that went down there in September 11th, and on and on and on and on. And they could be in on all, like, believe all this stuff,
do
and
they
or
know
be
about
awake
the
to.
7 buildings that went down on 9/11?
Oh yeah, exactly. But they could be awake to all these things, but yet still, a lot of them get really sensitive and touchy when it comes to flat Earth, and all of a sudden, they believe the establishment, they believe NASA, they believe the media about the shape of the Earth, they believe the government, et cetera, about this whole subject. All of a sudden, that's the one thing they believe without a doubt. They all of a sudden trust these groups of people and organizations that they normally don't trust at all.
Amazing.
Isn't that interesting?
It's
Isn't that interesting?
the one thing that's keeping you a slave. You believe what the government tells you about it when they have absolutely no proof. In 1959, Project High Jump went across Antarctica, said there's more land, more resources nobody's ever seen. And then they're like, oh, we're going to space. Don't go over there. Antarctic Treaty happens. Nobody can independently explore Antarctica. The globe trolls will go, yes, you can. You can go here. And you can't. You can't. You absolutely can't. We've had people that have gone to Antarctica, and you have very little freedom. You're just on that little island, Rothschild Island or Deception Island. They don't even take you to the ice shoreline, aka ice wall. So no,
And those are some interesting names for those islands over there.
yeah,
Rothschild Island and Deception Island.
yeah, no kidding.
That's interesting. I was going to ask you about a couple other things that are kind of unrelated, one could say. But what's your belief on dinosaurs?
Dinosaurs never existed. If you think about it, all the history of all the world, from the pyramids, no one ever found a dinosaur bone. In the 1800s, some royal guy writes a paper theorizing about dinosaurs, and a year later to the day, he and his team discovered the first dinosaur. No one has ever seen
So
on a dinosaur head. They'll find a bone like from a whale bone on top of a mountain, and they'll be like, oh, there's one vertebrae bone or something, and they'll say this was a dinosaur, a T-Rex. Go buy yourself a couple Stegosaurus dolls and tell me how they made it. Okay, it's not happening.
yeah, good question.
Yeah,
Good question.
it's dinosaurs were invented to support evolution and hide the fact that there was giants here, that there were giants and dragons and all sorts of stuff that they tell you is mythological. And so that way, when you find a giant thigh bone that's 15 feet long, you can say that's a dinosaur bone.
So I got to ask you the question that people would often bring up, the same type of question that they would bring up for flat Earth, is that, are you saying, Dave, that all the dinosaur, the paleontologists and everybody involved in these fields are all in on it together, or are they themselves fooled as well?
Some of both. Some of both. Most the lots are in on it, but how many have really found a dinosaur? A lot of them will find bones. It could be from a dragon. It could be from some very large animal, and they'll go, "Oh, that's a baby Tyrannosaurus Rex or whatever," and they're being fooled. All of the bones we all saw as kids in the library, in the schools. I mean, in the museums, they're made from chicken bones. They literally, a place in China makes dinosaur bones out of ground chicken bones and glue. And they, oh, we can't show you the real ones. They're radioactive. They're too precious. They're in a vault. And so a lot of people are not in on it, and some people are in on it. Just like all pilots. Are all pilots
it's an
in on it?
interesting one.
Yeah.
I've been to the Royal Tyrrell Dinosaur Museum in Alberta, Canada. Admittedly, a very interesting place when I went, and some of the obviously they say not all the skeletons are complete. Like sometimes they only find 5 bones out of 100 or whatever, and they put in the rest. But they also claim to have complete skeletons. They say that some of the exhibits, which are usually behind ropes and whatever, are complete skeletons, and some are not. So it would just be really interesting to have one of these people on here and kind of argue their side and with their supposed complete skeletons. It makes me wonder. I'm still kind of up in the air about that one.
Dinosaurs couldn't structurally exist. They're just, the T-Rex, its guts would fall out. The Stegosaurus, there's no possible way it could have made it unless it had like a massively huge extension, if you will. So again, and if you go to Costco, somebody go to a superstore, go to the book section, and you will find the biggest, thickest, highest quality, perfect bound book with the nicest thick paper, printed in color, embossed, everything on dinosaurs and space. And the book is like $19. It should cost $150. It probably cost $150 to make it, but they're selling it for $19 because they want you to have it. They want you to treasure it. They want you to love it. They want you to believe it. Because if you live in their fake dinosaur world on a spinning ball flying through a scientifically impossible space vacuum, then they got you. They can control you, and they can make you believe that there's a boogeyman flying, and he'll get you in the road when you're walking down, unless you're wearing a piece of paper over your face.
$19. That's the magic of Costco right there, my friend. They got good deals on some things.
And you got to also look, Costco is marking it up. So how do you have, I was in the printing business. I know how much these things cost. The book costs $100 to make. And there's, it's like the textbooks for the schools. The Rockefellers control that. They put the information in it, and then they sell them. They keep the schools underfunded, and they sell them to the schools for below cost, so nobody could ever compete.
Yeah, and while we're at it, let's anger a couple more people. Maybe. What's your thoughts on nuclear bombs?
Nuclear bombs don't exist. Boom, right there. And it's not even a question. It's not even a theory. But unless you're willing to look, you're never going to know. You can go back and look at the picture of the house exploding and the trees bending over. It's a little model. And if you watch it, there's incongruities in it. There's a car there, and then there's not a car there. And and the camera is in between the bomb and the house. How did the camera not go away? What it didn't even shake. And if you really want to know the truth, go to Crow 777 Radio, CRR, 2 R's, CRROW 777radio.com, and watch listen to it. It's an audio podcast. I think it's episode 35 and 400. Those 2 episodes, if you take the time and listen, you will know that there's no such thing as nuclear bombs. What about Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Well, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, both places where there's video, and I actually don't know where that video is anymore. I saw it once, of soldiers stacking skids and skids and skids of TNT at ground zero prior to the blast. So what happens when a nuclear bomb goes off? Well, a nuclear bomb's really bad, radiation, and people melt and all this stuff. 3 days later, the sandwich shops were open. They were selling flowers on the streets. The trains were running, and people were back to work. Nobody was allowed to report on it except one guy. If anyone else took a picture or wrote a news article, they were put in jail. Only one guy from whatever, the Associated Press or whatever the the service was back there, run by the Rockefellers. He was the only one allowed to report. So they were up and running. They have less cancer at Hiroshima and Nagasaki than we do in America today. What about happened to this crazy half-life? Go look at the psyop of nuclear war, because nuclear war is how they keep us sick and scared. You watch the TV, they're like, oh, this whole thing, the Ukraine and Russia, someone's going to do a nuclear attack. And every cell in your body is now in dis-ease. Okay. Every cell in your body is afraid, even though you're compartmentalizing it in your head. You're like, oh my God, this is horrible. But once you understand that it's just a joke, you laugh at the clowns on TV if you ever happen to watch them. Don't watch the news, by the way, it gives you cancer.
Yeah. Well, I got tired of watching. Well, not that I ever watched that much anyways, but I'll leave my opinions to myself on the news. They're not very good opinions on them. I don't look at that too much.
Truth in the movies, lies in the news.
Yeah. But I was going to say too, I don't know how much time you have left, but feel free whenever you
got about 5
gotta
minutes.
go, just let me know.
Whatever you need. 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay. Well, I was looking at a video on YouTube that was very interesting. I'm assuming you've probably seen it. It was incredible how far this guy could see from the plane he was flying at, around 30,000 feet or so. He could see mountain ranges across the United States of America about upwards of 700 miles away. And I think there was even a video where he was flying across the US and he could see the Hudson Bay about 1,000 miles away.
That's
what do you think about that?
So that's the guy that was on the SR-71 spy plane, goes over like 2,300 miles per hour. So there's a bunch of problems with that. One, he could see things that would be, I forget, 20, 30, 70 miles below a curve. He could see them. The other problem is the SR-71, at the speed that it flies, would have to drop 80 stories every second just to follow the curve of the Earth. Okay? Think about that. You're flying along, and if you're flying over a ball, you're going to fly off into space unless you keep nosing down. You'd have to nose down 80 stories every second so you wouldn't fly off of space. You can't even fathom. You'll be plastered to the top of this plane. So that's a problem. But here's a guy just on a mountain. We got nice clear air, and we could see all of these mountaintops. We can see all of these. This isn't even that high. Using the globe Earth calculator, calculating the observer height, the tops of these mountains should be over 40 miles below the curve. 40.
Yeah, if you go by the spherical trigonometry of the planet.
40 miles, but we can see them all. They all are refracting up and stopping at eye level. Amazing. Well, I can't see.
Everything's refracting again.
I can't see the bottoms. Well, that's because these hills and valleys in the foreground will block you. Little wave, a tiny little wave will block an entire city skyline.
Right. I don't know if we were thinking of the same video on YouTube though. The guy I was referring to, I believe, was just like a passenger on a plane, and he had some cool like kind of infrared video or something.
You're talking about Jay Tolan Media.
Yes.
Here's a picture from Jay Tolan Media from Malibu, looking at San Jacinto. I say it, I'll never get that right. And this is with an infrared, and you can see it. Take the infrared off, and this just turns to blue sky. You can't see any of it, right? There should be 7,000 feet of curvature from this location. That would just show the very tip of this mountain. But if you take off the infrared, all you see is a blue sky, and you're like, well, you can't see it because it's behind the curve. Infrared.
And people say refraction again, bro.
Well, infrared actually lowers the refraction. It actually would actually lower it. But the thing is, refraction can bend things, flip things, warp things. It can't make something come up from behind something. Okay. You can't make something come up from behind something. You know, there's one video where they have a ball, and the backside of the ball is red, and they pour liquid nitrogen on it, and all of a sudden you can see some red in the fog of the liquid nitrogen. That's a parlor trick. That's not popping things up and making it so you can see them perfectly. Here's we've all seen this picture, Chicago's skyline, right? This is
Yep.
this is a time lapse. So now if you look, here are all the buildings. This is a 24-hour time lapse. Buildings are still there. It's a little fog coming in. So we have changing conditions, changing temperatures, everything changing. So if this was a mirage, it should be going up and down. These buildings are not moving. They're
Yep.
still there,
No, they're there.
going from day to night, and the buildings are still there. So that's impossible. Unless, of course, the Earth is flat and we're just looking at the buildings.
Yeah, the whole spherical trigonometry thing has always been really interesting to me to see like examples of, because they say that the world is, you know, X amount of miles around, and if it's true, we should not be able to see these things constantly and consistently, and it can't always be refraction, as is obviously the case with the infrared video, where that wouldn't even really be a factor.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And there's so many proofs of this, from microwaves to lasers to sonar, radio signals. All of this stuff is impossible on a ball. Impossible.
Yeah, and I encourage people to take a look at that Jay Tolan guy's videos. There, he's got one where you can see the Hudson Bay from almost 1,000 miles away from in the plane. And yes, I know he's high in a plane, but still, by the spherical trigonometry they give us of the Earth, he should not be able to see these things whatsoever, which is interesting. But go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to say 100%.
Oh, I was done.
I agree.
Yeah. So anyways, if you could tell us, you know, you've got that really good app that's pretty interesting, for because people are going to have all these questions that are not answered on this podcast, because we could talk till we're blue in the face for 24 hours, 48 hours, and still not cover everything. So tell them a bit about your podcast and your anything else you want to mention.
Well, you can find all my information at flatearthdave.com. You can find the app there. The app is $3 one-time charge, and it will give you all the information that you need. People love it. And then I've been adding more and more stuff to the app. We have on the app, we have what's called the friend finder. People are like, you know, I'm a flat earther, and now it's I'm so lonely. I don't have anybody. I don't know who to talk to. And so you go on the friend finder. Let me show you. This will show you the people that have the app that have registered on the friend finder, and it'll show you. Just let it load for a second. Here we go. So I'm in Connecticut, and if I zoom in, these are the people just around me. So Flat Earth is taking over. Where you look, oh, you're in Canada, right? So you got people up there, not as many, but so it's got the friend finder on it. It's got you know, and then you could actually message people. You can check out profiles. So here's my profile, and it's kind of like Facebook, and you could post things, you can make friends, you can list things, you can search for people. Like if I wanted to move to Florida and I searched real estate broker Florida, I could find a flat earth real estate broker. I don't want to deal with a globalist when I'm trying to buy a house. I want to deal with a flat earther. So again, it's the profile thing is fairly new, so we're adding a whole bunch of new stuff to that, and it does a ton of things. Oh, images. So you're talking to somebody and you say, okay, tell me about Southern flight routes. I could just say Southern. Oh, there we go. Boom. SOU. That's all I need to type. And here are all of the Southern flight routes issues. Oh, I'm not showing that right. So I could show you one and say, look, here from Dallas to Beijing, emergency landing in Calgary. Why did they go all the way up to Calgary, all the way up here? And then you just show them, you say, well, because Calgary is right on that line on the flight path. So again, you can find all of that stuff, whatever. There's every topic is on here. So you can pull up images instantly. And then you could also, if somebody's like, you know, well, what I thought we went to the moon. So you put in LEM. I want to show a picture of the LEM. Here's a picture of the LEM. And you could say, you could show, like, say, look at this. Look at that. Paper mache and tinfoil.
Homeless tweaker shelter.
But so somebody says, oh, send me some images. I could say select, and I could pick a couple images, and then I could hit the send button, and I could email, text them. So it's a great way to share information, and all sorts of stuff. It has a whole messaging section where you can join groups and stuff. There's a group that I created called Dean Odell Greg Locke Debate. Anybody that's going to Memphis, Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee on December 2nd, join that group, because we're going to have a meetup that afternoon beforehand, right near wherever the church is. I don't know where it is yet, but we'll coordinate through that group. And you can do all sorts of stuff. You can do video calls on the app. Pretty cool.
It's quite an app. You got a lot of things going on there. It's very interesting looking, and I gotta check it out myself and take a look at that.
Book section, great stuff. It has
so much.
Yeah, I'm going to be speaking in Acapulco, February 11th and 16th. Anybody if you're looking for the biggest freedom conference ever in a very cool place, February 11th through 16th is Acapulco. Plan yourself a little vacation, and you could use FE Dave to get 10% off the ticket.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and the app is only the price of a bagel with peanut butter at Tim Hortons.
Yep. 100%.
Amazing. Okay. Well,
yeah, so the app, full disclosure, app's $3. If you want to use the messaging, like you can use the friend finder, but if you want to send messages, send broadcast messages, you play the trivia game, use the game section. There's going to be an interactive game where you can actually play with other people remotely. You have to subscribe, and that subscription is $11 a year. Okay. So basically you bought a subpar margarita and you forgot to tip the bartender. But on the friend finder, if you go right up here, this is the referral area, and you can create a custom referral code. Just use the pencil. And so if somebody downloads the app, I say, hey, put in referral code DITRH. And if I get 11 points, I can cash them in for a year subscription. So if you don't want to pay the $11 and you want the subscription, just tell people about the app. And
okay, awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. And because when you download the app, it says, "Do you have a referral code? Yes or no?" And yes, put it in, and then there you go.
Awesome. Thank you for explaining that, and thank you for giving us some of your time here today to come on. I know you're a fairly busy guy, and you've been in some very big podcasts with very large audiences. So I appreciate you coming on here to a smaller, growing podcast. And hopefully one day we can do it again, because there's so much more to cover. There's so many more questions and things to talk about regarding all of these things. So thank you very much for coming on here today.
And again, anybody out there that has a podcast, that knows of a podcast, that wants to have this discussion, go to flatearthdave.com, book Dave, send me a message there. We'll start the discussion, and we'll get you booked if it makes sense, because this is going to be the dominant thing. This is going to tip very soon. There's so many people waking up. It's going to come out. The truth is going to come out, and the world is going to split into the people that want to live in their fantasy ball world and the people that understand what this realm is and how to make the best use of it. So that is happening. It's happening in the very near future. And so anybody that wants to have that conversation, now is the time. There's a lot of big podcasters, giant podcasters that know the earth is flat, but they're a little afraid to talk about it. But more and more people are coming out. Stu Peters, he's full on flat. We got Amanda Vollmer in the health freedom basically almost everyone in the health freedom movement is flat. You got Peggy Hall, she's flat. There's
Alex Jones knows it's flat, doesn't he?
Alex Jones,
absolutely. I think he thinks it is.
Yeah. He was trying to plan a trip to Antarctica, and then he realized you can't. He was like ready to spend $1 billion on it. And I
know Brooks Agnew has been trying to do that for a while.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can go to Antarctica. You can spend a ton of money. You go for 3 days. You're not going to see anything except a bunch of white and some penguins. Whoops, there goes my focus again.
It looks beautiful, though. I'd like to go there and hike or do something.
You're not hiking that far. They're going to just take you around. They're going to show you some ice and some penguins. Yeah. They're going to kick you out.
I've seen some North Face people. I don't know how they did it, but they got to supposedly climb some of the the tallest peak there or something like that. Now, of course, we don't know if it's actually the tallest peak, but
Yeah.
and maybe it's just not too far away from the
Yeah.
ocean. But anyways,
Right.
yeah. Okay. Well, uh, appreciate you coming on. And for the people listening out there, uh, please subscribe to the Mystical Mountain. Go check out Dave's website, flatearthdave.com. Check out his YouTube channel. It's hard to find sometimes. We know how YouTube's censoring things. Are you on Rumble as well, Dave? Or BitChute or anything?
I am on Rumble and on BitChute, but I'm not as active there. So I am posting stuff
Mhm.
there. But I'm on Brighteon. I'm all over the place. All the social media links are on flatearthdave.com. Just go down. I'm on TikTok.
Mhm.
So you can
Okay,
find all
great.
my stuff there. But for those of you new, the two best channels, DITRH, that's all short videos. That's for the short attention span. Like somebody's like, I don't know clips,
Mhm.
find the clips video there. Bam. Or just, it's better to find them in on the app, in the frequently asked questions section. But short stuff there. And then my interviews channel where this will be. All my interviews, there's over 1,000 interviews. So,
Yeah.
you can start listening to them. If you're on a long drive, it's nothing better than listening to a couple of these, and all of a sudden you're at your destination. Another thing, which I think
Yeah.
a new feature we just added, the magnifying glass, that's search for videos. So I'd be able to search for, Truth Seeker or whatever you want to, whatever the name of the podcast, it'll show up in the search. But let's
Okay, cool.
video on Sky Ice. I could type in Sky Ice and whoops. There we go. Sky Ice, done. Search, and up comes the videos, two videos that are on Sky Ice. You won't
Oh, there you
find
go.
them on YouTube. Even though they're on YouTube, you won't find them. They won't ever deliver them to you. So,
Yeah, which also itself is kind of telling. It seems like nowadadays, whatever they're trying to censor is probably true.
right. And once
Yeah.
people, get put down their emotions, put down their ego, look at this, then you'll realize the hardest thing is the reason people have such a vile reaction to flat Earth is because they have to admit their entire life is a lie, and that's too hard for some people.
In reality, in general, is much different than they thought it was, if they, wind up considering it. But I mean, yeah, for the people listening today, thank you for listening. Hopefully, many of you listened, even if you don't agree, even if you didn't agree. Hopefully, you took in the information and maybe look into it a bit. I'm still undecided on certain things, but I'm definitely open-minded to everything.
Uh,
So, yeah, go
on
ahead.
my website, if you scroll down, you'll see a big picture of me, and it says Crash Course. Click that, and in there is a list of documentaries on flat Earth. Turn off Netflix, watch a couple of those, this week or whenever, one a night. And I say that it's scientifically impossible to watch three of them and remain a globe earther. So
Oh,
again, and they're all well done. They're amazing documentaries. One of them, Level with Me, a new one. I'm in that one actually, and it's great. It exposes the space program, the shuttle psyop, the Challenger, and the deception of the globe. So again, there's so many good videos in there, and it's only you can't learn if you're unwilling to look and listen.
well, that's quite a challenge. Watch 3 documentaries and see where you stand after that.
Guaranteed.
Okay. Uh, Yeah. All right. Well, remember everybody out there, please leave a like, thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't really care. Leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, the Mystical Mountain Podcast here on YouTube. I'm also on Rumble. I'm trying to get on BitChute. It's pretty tough to upload videos in some of those sometimes. They need to improve their infrastructure. And I should be on Spotify, Apple, all the major podcasting apps and stuff like that. Mystical Mountain Podcast. And go check out Dave, Flat Earth Dave. Check
One
out that
last
app.
one last thing.
Yeah.
I have a team of anti-flat Earth trolls, paid or possessed. I don't care. There's probably no difference. That will show up in your chat and say, Dave's a scammer. Dave said this. Dave, and it's
Oh yeah.
unbelievable the amount of work that they do. But they'll comment on everyone's videos, but they'll never offer you a globe proof. They'll just say, scam this, scam that. This isn't true. That's not true. But they'll never offer a globe proof. One globe proof, you win 3 Bitcoins.
Okay. Yeah. There's another challenge right there. There you go. So yeah, no, I look forward to the comments. That's okay. The more comments, the better.
Yep.
All right. Thank
All
you
right.
everybody for listening. Thank you, Dave, for being here.
Thanks.
And tune in again next time. And approach everything with an open mind. It's okay to disagree or agree.
All right. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.